Gentlemen, I want to introduce to you one of the head people up in Quantum. He's the one that helps us with all illustrations that have to do annuities. I hope you guys are really prepared for an amazing training. The trainings that are most amazing are the ones that you guys actually participate. I would ask if you can to please show your faces, and if you can't, I understand. But we already know who everyone is. I was already elaborated who everyone is, so it's not a big deal. But just to make it easier on him, if he has to see your face, if you can, please be exposed and show your face. But I want to introduce to you guys none other than Mr. Colton. And man, it's been a pleasure working with this guy. we already gotten to know each other very well. And so you can tell by his smile that he's like, and I'm still waiting for my package, and it's put on recording, so I got you twice. All right, gentlemen,
it's one of those things. It's one of those things. For years to come, I'm going to hear about this crap every time I see you. Oh, that's so funny. So yeah, hey, I appreciate everyone being patient with me. I got my time zones mixed up. However, I'm going to step it up a little bit, right? So the fact that we're on, I'm going to kind of run fast, so I know it's recorded, so you can go back and watch everything. So tonight, I'm going to go over Annuity 101. I have Nationwide prepared because they just had a huge increase to their income, right? And so, but I don't think I've ever broke down an illustration for you guys. And so there's a good way I can show the power of it. It's fantastic, one of the best in the market. So I think you just buckle up. For the veterans on the call, hang tight with me through the Annuity 101. You're going to learn some stuff about the product at the end, right? So let me get started here. Let me share my screen. And if you guys have any questions along the way, please chime in. I do not like listening to myself for 30, 45 minutes at a time. Okay. Okay. So, all right. So here's me. Here's my contact info, right? That's the office number. That's my email. Please reach out if you need anything. So I'm kind of the point of contact for you guys over at Quantum. But also I added this slide for Lou. Lou is on my team. He's been in the business 30 plus years. He's a CFP. He's kind of helping me run the day-to-day calls, right? So I'm kind of working on some stuff with Jamie Prickett and Sean Redford and Jerry Vall. But so Lou's been help step up the support level. And then I have Jake on my team as well that can help. And then also Lizzie's going to be joining my team on Monday. So the team is growing simply because of you guys. Honestly, you guys are killing it so good. I've added 3 people to the team just to support Experior, right? So definitely utilize Lou. Like I said, he's kind of handling my day-to-day stuff. Obviously, I'm here to support. I see everything that he works on. He copies me on every single email. So I've got my eyes on it 24/7. But also, I just want to kind of dive into the support level that's kind of being built out. Okay. Now, anyone new on the call, you're probably like, who's this guy? Who's Quantum? What do they do? Why are we talking to this guy? What's the partnership with Experior look like? So on and so forth. So Quantum, we are your annuity distribution partner. Okay. So all I do is talk about annuities all day long. It's super exciting. Not really, but you get the gist. But my team and myself, we are here to help with illustrations, case design, case prep, advanced planning, you name it in the annuity space. That's what my team and myself are here for. Okay. So if call me up, say, hey, I've got this client, they're 50 years old, they got 100 grand sitting around. What can we do with it? Right. I'll run you through the products. I'll run the illustrations for you. I'll basically prepare you for battle. Right. So you can go win that case. A nexus, right? You're going to hear quantum and a nexus on almost every sentence that when we talk about annuities, right? A nexus, sister company, all they do is build product, right? Nationwide, North American, and Athene. Some of their products have stuff on like that, how they function that are not on any other products. I'm going to go over some of those today. In the distribution world, not everyone has access to them. Quantum is one of 16 or 17 distribution companies that has access to them. So you guys are an elite space. Innovation Design Group out of Topeka, Kansas. We're one of 4 or 5 out of a couple hundred companies that have access to their products, right? So Delaware Life, the new income product, uh, Leo will probably have to do another training on that one because it's fantastic. Security benefit, number one product Experior, right? Those are Innovation Design Group built products. So those are extremely, extremely limited. Very, very few people in the whole industry have access to them, and you guys are in that group. Okay. So that's it, right? So you have access to these two great companies. Now, this list of carriers is not all, there's not the complete list. So I've F&G, Lincoln, right? NLG. I've got all of those with the partnership as well, right? So I'm referring only to the limited distribution carriers and products. But we have all the others as well. So you call me, I'll get you taken care of. Okay. So Annuity 101, right? And if you've heard this before, kind of like hitting on it multiple times, right? Because there's just a ton of information here, and it's always good to, you might pick up something new, right? So just bear with me. So what's a FIA? All it is a contract between the client and the carrier that has guarantees built in, principal protection, maybe some income, right? But basically, it's a product that you cannot lose any money in. And nowadays, most everything is uncapped, right? So what does that mean? Downside protection, unlimited upside. Pretty simple. That's if you're in the presentation here, I mean, we're good, right? That's the principle is, hey, we're not going to lose any money. We're going to participate in the market, basically, right? Most common types of annuities you're going to run into, right? So the old fixed annuity, just a fixed rate of return. You don't see those very often, but they're around. A MIGA, a multi-year guarantee annuity. It's a fixed rate of return for a set period of time. So you might get 5% for 3 years, and that's it, right? No more, no less, or maybe 5 years, something like that. The most common are 3 and 5 years. Single premium immediate annuity, okay? Lump sum payments go in and some type of income, right? It's called period certain. You can set it for 5, 10, 15 years, life. Those are very strict. There's very little wiggle room. Once you give the insurance company your money inside of a SPIA, you cannot get your money out, right? We use those in the planning process, but it's very, very few. You don't make much money. Commissions are not good on them. So they're around. We have access to them if we need it. Fixed index annuity, that's where we play and play extremely well, right? Principal protection with gains tied to an index or strategy. Best of all worlds, basically. Variable annuity, it's annuity with what's called sub accounts. It's kind of like mutual funds. I'm licensed, 6 and 633 license. You have to have a license to sell the variable annuity. The fixed index annuity, you just need a life license. Okay. Variable annuity, though, is subject to market loss, and the fees are sometimes kind of high on them, right? So, why am I telling you this, right? Why am I telling you about products that you don't have access to, you can't sell, or whatever? Here's why. Because when you're talking to clients and you run into one of these, what do? I don't want you to throw your hands up and say, oh, they've already got an annuity. I can't do anything, right? I'm telling you this because what I want you to do is see if you can get a statement from the client, send it to me and my team, and I will see if there's an opportunity to roll the money or move it into the other product, right? So that's the only reason I'm talking about it, right? So when you're out there, you can at least go back to this recording and say, hey, what was he talking about? It was like, I'm not seeing any indexes in it. Well, maybe it's a MIGA or maybe it's just fixed, right? So we just get those statements. I'll kind of know what we're looking at so we can see if there's an opportunity to move it for you guys. So. Okay, so a couple technical things I want to touch on, right? The first one is called a participation rate or a par rate, right? So if you're big in the IUL space, it's going to work the same way. But a par rate basically tells us how much the client participates in the return of that index. Okay. So as an example, and the par rate is different per product per index, but they all function very, very similar, right? A par rate, call it 200%. Let's say that index that is tied to does 5%. What would the return to the client be, right? 5 times 200% is 10% return to the client. So it's just basically a multiplication factor, right? So now let's say the par rate's 50%. Index does 5 times 2.5, or sorry, I'm sorry, times 5, 5 times 50% would be 2.5% return to the client. Okay. So you can see how important the par rate situation is. We have par rates up to 450, 500% on some products, right? So think of it like this. The bigger the par rate, the higher the upside potential. Okay. So now when you're looking at a product, you can say, oh man, that par rate's 300%. Well, that index does 5% like it's built like it's supposed to, and that's 15% return to the client. 1 second. Now the next thing, sorry, my daughter's grabbing. Daughter wants her iPad. Grab it real quick. Okay, so the next thing, point to point, right? So these couple things, right? Every product functions like this in the annuity space. So a point to point is the duration of crediting. It can basically be any length of time. The most common is a 1, a 2. There's some products with longer, most common is 1 and 2 year points. But what am I talking about here, right? So you put money in today, 1 year from now, basically what the company has done is track that index for 1 year. Okay. And then they're going to credit any of that gains after that time. If it's a 1 year point, it'll be 1 year from today. Right. If it's a 2 year point to point, it's going to track that index for 2 full years. Okay. And then it's going to credit the gains at the end of that second year. Now, why am I saying this? Par rate and point to point are correlating. Okay. So the longer the point to point, the higher the participation rate. So we might have 150% on a 1 year point to point. On a 2 year point, it might be 220% or 250%. Now, you might be saying, Colton, well, if it's 250% on a 2 year, why don't we put it all in a 2 year? That's a pretty good question, right? Well, 2 things. Number 1 is client does not see any gains in their account for 2 full years. So that could be a deterrent, right? Also, if you have 1 good year and 1 bad year and then it credits, right? Client could potentially get nothing, even if the first year is really, really good. Okay. So in my experience, we ladder them. Maybe you do 50% in 1 year and 50% in 2 year, right? So those 2 things are correlated, and that's kind of why we want to go some allocation, 1, 2, maybe 3 year point to points inside of that somewhere. Now, I don't expect you to know all that. I just want you to know the basics on how it works, and then I can guide you on what to put where, right? There's some products where I really like the 2 year point to points. Most of them I like 1 year. I even like on the nationwide, I like the 3 year point to points, and I'll show you why here in just a second. Okay. So a lot to think about, but just know, longer the duration, higher the participation rate. Okay. And then we want to be aware of how it credits, because if you put someone in a 2 year point to point, they get their annual statement and they say, dude, my money's not growing. Technically it is. We just don't see it yet. Right. And we don't want to, if it's a high net worth client, we really want them to understand what we're getting into. So if we definitely want to make sure that we're dialed in on how we're explaining things, right? Okay, types of bonuses, right? There's 2 types of bonuses. Okay. The first one is a cash bonus. That one's easy. Okay. So you look at North American, then one of the best selling products at Experior, it's a 22% cash bonus. Security benefit, 21% cash bonus. You put 100 grand in, right? With North American, they have $122,000 in their cash. That one's kind of easy to explain, right? Or understand. It's just, you get it, right? The benefit bonus is a little different. Today, we're talking about Nationwide. Nationwide has a 30% benefit-based bonus or an income bonus. It is not applied to the accumulation value. It is applied to the income bucket, which I'll explain it to you. Okay, and I'll show you exactly where it's at on the illustration. Now, I get asked all the time, well, Colton, which one's better? They're both great. It depends on what we're trying to solve for. So if you're talking to someone, say they're 50 years old, they're down 15, 20% in their 401k, I would recommend cash, right? Let's say that same client now is like, well, hey, I just want the most income. I know what my social security is going to be. I know what I've got a pension at work, but it's not quite getting me to where I need to be. I just want income, guaranteed. Well, okay, well then that means the benefit-based bonus is going to be better. Okay. The other thing is, right? If you don't know, and let's say it's on the weekend and you've got an appointment and they just booked with you and you're trying to run some illustrations, okay? And then they're in an annuity. Well, let's say they have a surrender value. Right now we're talking about suitability, but it's worth talking about. If they have a 5% surrender and you show them nationwide because it has a 30% bonus, no go. It'll be declined by nationwide because nationwide does not consider that bonus cash, right? We have to have a cash bonus to offset surrender charges. So what I don't want to happen is you're rocking and rolling, right? And you're excited. Hey, I got this big bonus over here, yada, 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 but it's the wrong product, right? So kind of be aware of that. It's two different types of bonuses, cash, benefit base, and then you're good. But rule of thumb, I would say anything above 20 to 22, 23%. If you see 30, 35, 40, 45% bonus, more than likely it's going to be a benefit or an income bonus. More than likely. There's always exceptions like Augustar. They have a 24% cash bonus right now. Okay. So there's exceptions to that rule, but I'm just saying rule of thumb, painting with a very wide brush here. If you're in a competitive situation with another agent and that client that you're trying to win says, well, they're offering me a 40% bonus. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. So then now you look like the expert and you can explain it to them, right? So just be aware. That's when it pops up the most is when we're in a competition with other agents and clients don't know these things, right? So just keep that in the back of your mind, and I can always walk you through it, right? Fee versus spread. Not going to hit too much on this. Fee is paid the whole entire time, right? So if client gets a 0% return and it's a 1% fee, they're still going to take that fee, right? If it's a spread, it's only paid on the gains, right? So no gain, no pain with a spread. Nationwide, it actually has a spread option, so it'll tie right into the product tonight. But just the fee thing, I can overcome fees all day long. I can talk about fees. I know how to break them down for you. I get on my high horse about fees, right? I'm not scared of the fee conversation. If we know how to go about it, right? It's all about value. If you're paying for something, right? There to be an exchange about why do we pay $10,000, $15,000 for a Rolex? Because there's value there. Does it make sense? So if there's value, there's an exchange of value with a product. I don't mind paying a fee, right? And so I'm not afraid of that. I can walk you through that. Some clients are very fee conscious, and so we'll just explain it to them and I'll show you how to do it. Okay. Okay, qualified and non-qualified. What's the difference? Okay. I'm not a tax person. You're not a tax person. You're not screaming from the rooftops that you're a tax person unless you are a tax person, right? However, it's really important to know the difference in qualified versus non-qualified. So qualified dollars, qualified means money has not, the taxes have not been paid on that money, or it's pre-tax. So think 401ks, 457s, 403bs, IRAs, right? Basically anything tied to an employer, a lot of the times, not all the time, there's always exceptions. A lot of the times that is pre-tax dollars. Okay. Non-qualified checking account, savings account, brokerage account, non-qualified. Okay. Why is this so important? Because if you, and I had an experienced agent do this, it's kind of funny. He took a 401k and put it into a non-qualified annuity, right? That is what we call we want to be like for like. That was a huge taxable event for the client. So the rule of thumb that you want to know is like to like, right? If it is qualified, 401k and all these, we can put it into an IRA. That is considered like to like. That movement of money is not a taxable event. However, if we get our wires crossed, either which way, we're going to cause a taxable event, right? So the bottom line is it doesn't matter what it's in, typically, we want to go like to like. Now, that's not to say there's not strategies to go from qualified to non-qualified. We do Roth conversions, we go to IUL, things like that. But typically, just be aware when we're doing the planning, like to like, you're going to be safe here, right? It's like on Hitch dancing, we're safe here, like to like, right? So it's one of those things. I just want to be kind of clear that up, right? If you're new into the business, there's the things you're going to run into literally every single appointment, right? 401k is probably the biggest opportunity. Old 401ks. Okay, now I get asked every time on this slide, what if someone's working there at their current job and they have a 401k? Can we touch it? Maybe. It's a maybe, right? So basically, every single 401k that's set up has rules, right? When they set that plan up, it has rules, right? What you're looking for and the words that you want to use is an in-service distribution. Okay. So if someone's got 500 grand in a 401k at their current job, do they qualify for in-service distributions? I don't know. You have to call Fidelity or InPower or whoever it is and ask them, hey, do they qualify for in-service distributions? If the answer is yes, then we can move it. If the answer is no, our hands are literally tied. We really can't touch it until they leave that employer, right? A lot of times they have to be 59 and a half. There's maybe some red tape there, but I get asked that all the time. And you'd be surprised on how many in-service distribution rollovers we've done, especially with Experior. But it's just one of those things where it's not a cut and dry answer, and there's not the blanket answer either. In-service distributions is the words that we're looking for. But it's a huge opportunity. Old 401ks, not a taxable event, doesn't cost the money anything to roll it over, and we can protect it and grow it at the same time, right? The second opportunity is what we call 1035 exchanges. 1035 is just a tax code. It's basically insurance product, right? If you're in real estate, 1031, real estate to real estate. But really, if they got into the annuity product a couple of years ago, we can do an annuity refinance is what we call it. And we can probably put them in a better situation, in a better product. Okay, so if you run into those again, get the statement, call me, right? Just any kind of money we can always roll over. I think the first two, right? The first two opportunities are more abundant than you would think, just old 401ks and current annuities. If we can get really good at those two opportunities, then we can really do some damage. So I'm going to pause there. Hit me with any questions that you guys have while I'm going to pull up an illustration here in just a second. But if you have any questions, please, hit me with your best shot.
Guys, any questions so far on how quantum works? I'll start off with this, Colton, because I was doing some of the annuities already. Back when I first started, we would call or email Lou, because Lou is the one that's been working with us now, predominantly. And now, ever since then, you guys created a portal now where you would put the statement, write what it is you're looking for, and then somebody will get back to you. I think it's important before you get into Nationwide to show that, because a lot of people, are still going to think about the old way. I don't know if you have access to a portal. If not, I can do it some other time. But I just wanted to make sure they understood that now it's not. I mean, do you guys still accept emails?
Oh yeah. No, we definitely do. So the landing page that we built, it works really good at scale, right? So I get tied up, Lou might be on a call, right, or something, right? So the landing page, it's in my email signature, it's on the Xperia back office as well. The great point. So let me share my screen. I'll show it to you real fast. So when you click on the case design link, whether you get there through the Xperia back office or my email signature or something like that, it'll take you to this. Here's what's really nice, right? You click on annuity or life insurance. The only life contract I've got with Xperia is Nationwide, right? So if you like Nationwide, then this you can use this as well. But here's what's great about this, right? Once you click on annuity, you can come down here, you can choose my name, and then you literally have to fill out all the pertinent information for us to fill out that illustration for you. Okay. Couple things. Product preference, you may not know the products, and that's okay. Just put best income or accumulation, or three different things, or whatever it might be. Index preference, you're probably not going to know that either. We'll walk you through that. Net worth, I always put 0. Don't even know why that question's on here, to be honest. I never put anything there. But down at the bottom, this is where you can type out goals and objectives. Okay, so it might be like, hey, they want a bonus, but I'll say they want a good death benefit or something. I'm just making something up, right? Or they're worried about RMDs or whatever that is,
It's usually
right? This is where
growth
it's gonna,
or distribution. That's what we've been getting, like create, because we really push a lot on the stream of income. So sometimes in
yep,
most cases they're looking for a long stream of income, or they're looking for if they're young enough, like in their 30s, they're looking to boost their income or their bucket. So in 10 years, then they can flip it to income. So that's usually
yeah. 100%. So like if you do in like max income, it'll ask you for years of deferral, right? So you can give it, and even right here, you can put like, I mean, 65 and 70, something, or 10 or 15 years, or whatever it might be. Now, when you click submit on this, this is what's great. I get a copy of the email, the submission, but also 6 other people get a copy of it as well, right? And most of the time, especially if it's early on in the day, you'll probably get them back within 15 to 20 minutes. Like it's not a long time, right? Because we have our case design team so robust. Okay. Now, here's what I'll say, right? You're probably like, well, then why do I need you and Lou? Well, when we're talking about big cases or very complicated cases, or just intricate, or we're dealing with trust or wills or something, that's what we're here for, right? If you just need a $50,000, IRA, then yeah, use the landing page. But if you have something that's like, man, it's kind of big, I just need to know, like, I just want to talk to somebody, call me, call Lou, call Jay, call my team, right? That's what we're here for. But yeah, this is a great place. If you need something quick, you're up and running, you've done a few annuities, this is a great place to start.
Sita Kira has a question. Either type it or unmute yourself.
Hey Colton. I have like 3 questions.
Okay.
When a new agent is contracted with you guys, before they're able to write any business, when they first contract with you, do they get their writing number to write business with you guys only upon them submitting business?
Great question. Okay. I built, oh, where's it at? Okay. I'll walk you through this. I have a whole presentation for it, but I got it all on one PDF. Okay.
Okay.
Absolutely fantastic question. This is definitely worth spending time on. So the way that the process is built, full disclosure, is a pain in the neck. I'm not oblivious to that fact. Okay. So we're always trying to refine it. We're always trying to get better at it. But this is the way it is currently. Okay. So number one, everyone has to fill out the SureLC link. I have a copy of it. It's in the Xperia back office. Okay. I don't know someone exists unless they fill out that SureLC link. Okay. That's the first step. If they've already done that, that means they're in my system. Number 2 is the most important one. I do not send anything to the carrier automatically. So if you did the SureLC link and you go back in 2 weeks later, it's going to say pending at BGA, right? So if you shoot me an email or you talk to Lou or anybody on my team and you've got business coming up or appointments coming up or something, we will push the contracting to the carrier. Okay. That is the biggest difference right there. So we're not going to send anything. And the reason why we have it set up that way is because every time I send something to the carrier, it's $8 to $10, which doesn't sound like a lot, right? It's like coffee. However, you do one agent times 6 or 7 carriers times 5,000 agents. That is a huge expense that is very easily avoidable. Okay. Now, with that all being said, there's only one carrier that it takes a little time. Like if you call me up tomorrow in the morning and said, hey, I need to write nationwide, my appointment's at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Perfect. I'll get everything over to the carrier. You knock out product training, we're off to the races. You can submit that business that day, right? The only one that takes a little time and it's a pain in the neck is F&G. F&G, they're like 7 to 10 business days, and they require you to be fully contracted with a writing code before you can submit any business. Nationwide, Athene, North American, all the other ones, if we get the contracting started and it's processing at the carrier, we can actually submit business. It's called dual contracting. You can put business in while they're processing it. Okay. So most carriers, you can write business within 24, 48 hours and not have an issue whatsoever. Okay. Now, there's always an asterisk, especially with contracting, because contracting is a pain in the neck. If you just came over from a practicing company, I need to know when was the last time you wrote business, what carriers you get contracted with, yada, yada, yada. I will wade you through those waters, but we'll take that on a case-by-case basis, right? These are just, I'm assuming we're good, right? This is that process, okay? Now, at that time, so let's say you did Sure LC, you called me, I'm pushing everything to the carrier. At that time, I'm going to start giving you access to portals, right? I'll give you access to Advisor HQ. That's the most important one. That's where you submit business, right? It gives you access to Firelight, so on and so forth, okay? So that's kind of the process, right? So thank you for asking the question, because it is a little confusing and I understand. I get it, right? But that's kind of what we got. And I can send this to you as well, so you can send it out to the team.
Or
You
you
can
can,
put that
if
PDF
you
in
drop it
the-
in the
in the
chat, that
box.
will be good. But I have one more question. I'm sorry, you guys.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Also, Colton, when we start writing business doing our annuities, we have nationwide, we have all these different, we have New Heights, we have this, Athene, and all of this.
Yep.
For every annuity that we write, before we are able to actually write business with that annuity, whatever company we're writing with, do we have to all take a product knowledge course prior to that?
Yes.
Okay.
Unfortunately. Now, if you've done it in the past, you don't have to redo it. You only have to do it one time, right? So if you're new and you've never done annuities before, the first couple cases, you'll have to do the product training. I've got all the product trainings it's basically a PDF. It'll take you to Reg Ed, right? And it gives you the course code, all of that good stuff. So I can definitely send that out as well. But yes, the answer is yes. And it's got to be done. You can do it same day, but it's got to be done at least the same day as the client signs the application.
Okay. One more question. I'm not sure if you noticed, but with the annuities, I know that sometimes they get tricky with the credits, like with our credits, like the best interest. You know how you have to do the best interest and have it in each state. You're smiling. The best interest, right? So I'm in New Jersey. Best interest is different. So another state that I was writing in did not accept it, but it's the same thing. So say if I'm in New Jersey, I have my best interest, but Massachusetts or whatever, they don't accept that, right? Do you have to take that course for your best interest in every single state that you're writing in?
So, yes and no, right?
Okay.
So the best interest, there's a 490 course. The
Mhm.
490 course is adopted by most states. If
Mhm.
that state adopted the 490 process, right, has adopted that, then you're good.
Mhm.
Okay. There are states where, like Cali, it's an 8-hour course, right? Everything else is 4 hour,
Mhm.
right? So it is kind of depending, but most of the states, a large majority of them have adopted the best interest of 490 course.
Okay.
I think Jersey's one of those little states up there.
Because
There is a couple different ones, but they should accept it.
I had to take a different course. Now I'm sorry, you guys. I was just asking because I'm like, I think it is maybe a website that we all can go through, you guys, but I just wanted to put that out there for you guys that's going to start writing business, because even if you did your best interest in your state, if worldwide they did not adapt that, and Jersey is a little tricky, New York is a little tricky, they did not accept it. So when I had to write business, they made me take another best interest 4-hour course, and I was just wondering, how does that work? Because if we already took that course in our state, why isn't it accepted? And that's what I was pretty much
Now, I've seen it to where it may have not just been registered at the carrier level, right? So let me take one step back. For new agents that have never written an annuity, right? There's a couple things you need. You have to have your AML, you have to have your E&O, you have to have your best interest for the state, right? Product training, and then you can write business, basically, right? A writing code. Right? The best interest is probably the biggest pain in the neck. I have seen it to where the 490 core, and I've actually seen it where they actually had it done in that state, and there was still a little wonky at the carrier. So I have seen those where it just didn't register, or maybe it flagged differently for whatever reason. So it can be on the carrier sometimes. But anyways, the long story short, like, I can dive into that for you if need be, or you can reach out to my contracting team and they can kind of guide you through it. There's a 490 course, a 390 course, an 8-hour. There's like 4 or 5 different courses depending on the state, but the 490 one is the one that covers a lot of them. But yeah, that's why I don't like contracting. And that's why I'm not in the contracting department, because I would hurt somebody. Right?
So,
Thank you, Colton. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Absolutely. Okay. So I'm going to jump in.
Yeah, I got a quick question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned qualified for qualified, non-qualified for non-qualified. Get that part. But you said that it would be taxed, and it would only be taxed because it was coming from a qualified to a non-qualified, or it would be a tax because of the type of account.
No, it would be taxed because you're switching qualifications. So
Okay.
the switching of qualifications triggers a taxable event, right? So you go qualified to non-qual, taxed, right? Yeah.
So that would be the only way annuity would be taxed, if it's going from non to switching.
Yeah, that is on that movement of money. Now, obviously, the taxes on the back end, right? It's still tax deferred, but when they pull money out, all the taxes still apply. I'm not saying that, right? I'm just saying the movement, that transaction is simply what I'm talking about. That transaction. If we go like to like, you're good. If we go qualified to non-qual, that transaction itself, that one solitary event, that would cause a taxable event if we're not careful.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and the only other one that's really its own thing is Roth. So if we are messing with a Roth, we would go Roth to Roth, right? Because Roth, gross tax-free income is tax-free. We don't want to mess with that, right? Because it is the king of taxes, right? It's like an IUL. But if we go have a Roth, we do want to go still like for like. We just want to make sure it's in a Roth. So it's the same rule applies. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I have another question. I know you want to continue. I don't know if I should ask. Okay, this is important because somebody else may have this. I have a client that she's in a Roth right now. But she lost some money a couple of months ago. Is almost like 20,000 or whatever in there or something. But she wanted to do like an IUL, and she wanted to take it out of there because she felt like, and when I did the illustration for her, that it would be great. What would be your advice, your professional advice? If that was like your sister, what would you tell her to do? Got you patting
So
your hair, Colton.
she wants to take a Roth and fund the IUL?
Yeah, because she had lost money over time. Like, she sent me her statements, and like some quarters she lost like $600. I guess, you know, when the market or whatever. And then she got 400, then she lost this and she lost that. And she was like, I just want to put it in something that's really gonna grow. I don't want to keep taking losses. I just want it to grow. She don't want to touch the money until she's at retirement. She's 54 right now. What would you tell her to do?
Perfect. So what I would do is I would take that Roth, put it into North American or Security Benefit. I'd put it into the FIA, fixed index annuity. You're not going to lose a dime, unlimited upside. We're going to grow that tax free. Then I would fund an IUL on a monthly basis. That's what I would do. If that's an option, obviously, if that's an option. So because we're going to grow it tax free, we're going to keep the same Roth qualification, right?
Just
But then
repeat.
also,
What did you say from the beginning? I'm sorry, I'm writing this down.
I would dump that 20 grand into a FIA, fixed index annuity, right? Fixed, we're not going to lose any money. We're going to have unlimited upside. We can probably get a pretty decent bonus on it. But we're going to label that annuity a Roth, right? So it's still going to grow tax free, but now we're just not going to lose any money. Okay. And then I would fund an IUL on a monthly basis is what I would do with the additional funds she has.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
That's all I got.
Okay. All right. So let's rock and roll on Nationwide. I feel like I'm about to blow everyone's socks off with this. If I don't, I did something wrong, right? But anyways, so Nationwide. Okay. Couple things on page 2, right? Right. Yeah. 30%. That is a 30% income bonus, right? Minimum income benefit bonus, 30%. Now we have an income benefit based roll up of 9.5% compound to the income base, not to the cash. Okay. So when we think of Nationwide, we want to think of income, and we want to think of guarantees, and really damn good ones. Right. So we're getting 30% day one, 9.5% for up to 12 years, or until income is triggered, whichever is first. Okay. Now, let me show you a couple things. So, client, I just made this up, right? Client puts in 250 grand. Now, as you can see, let me blow this up. Here's the contract value. Client puts in 250 grand. The 30% is not there. That's the biggest thing. It is not cash. I can't say this enough. However, High Point Income benefit base, we have $325,000. Now we want to think of this column right here as the engine that drives the income. What does that mean? Income is calculated directly off this number. So if we want a high guaranteed income, we want this bucket to be as big as possible. Okay. So I deferred 10 years. Okay. $38,000 a year for life. This is 0% across the board. 0% returns for 30 years is on this page. Not going to happen. Okay. Now, here's what's crazy. Look at this. This is the cumulative withdrawals. That just means it's a running total of how much money the client has pulled for income the whole time. If they get 0% returns for 30 flipping years, they've pulled out $670,000 total income, and they only put 250 grand in. That is the power of the income rider. Now, this is not annuitization. Annuitization. No annuitization. All we're doing is triggering the income, right? They still have control of the asset. They can turn the income off. They can access the funds. If there's any funds left over, they can have a death benefit. Okay. So we want to lose the terminology annuitization when we're talking about some of these new products. Okay. This is an income rider that we're just exercising. Okay. Now, as good as this is, what does this look like if we actually get returns? Right? Little bit different. Okay. Now, if I were sitting down in front of the client and I was going to show the power of this product, I would look at three numbers. I call it the trifecta. I came up with this all on my own and you can steal it. Okay. It's not plagiarism, it's research, right? But anyways, so there's three numbers. We want to show how much the client is putting in. Okay. If we go down to call it 20 years, I don't know, where's 20 years? Okay. So 20 years, just call it right here. We want to show how much they put in. The second number we want to show is how much income they've taken out total, right? So in this case, $392,000. They put 250 in. They've pulled out 390. But look at this. The death benefit of 972,000 or surrender value 890 grand. That's after they pulled all that money out. So they pull all that money out, they can still walk away, say, hey, I don't need this income anymore. I just fell into some money. Perfect. What do you want to do? I want to cancel my policy. They walk away with 890 grand after pulling the $390,000 out. Right? So where this product excels across all other products, and I put up against anything in the marketplace, as we have guaranteed income that will never go down, can only go up, which I'll break that down in a second. But there's also an accumulation factor to it, and a good one. Okay. Most of the time, if we look at income products, they kind of handcuff our ability to accumulate, or they handcuff the upside. They don't. They don't on this one. So they get best of both worlds. They can have their cake and eat it too. They get income guaranteed for life, and also they have the accumulation side. Okay. Now, look at this. So 38 grand. So let's say we get a couple step ups right here. Right? They track values daily on this product. What does that mean? Let's say Elon Musk, he sends out a tweet and says markets go crazy for just one day. Just one day, but we get a new high. It's a high watermark, right? They lock that in that day. The next month, the client gets a pay raise, right? That is extremely unique for Nationwide. No other product does it. Okay. So the tracking values daily, like it's crazy what this product can do for the right client, right? So number one income number, it's on the top of the income charts, but really when we're talking about total benefit of ownership, is that accumulation piece is a very, very big thing. Most people want to see their cash grow along with the income. Okay. Any questions on that?
So Colton, you're telling me they get a stream of income and there is also a death benefit as well as a surrender value, regardless of when they pass away?
Yeah, so obviously that's one or the other, right? So, right, but yes, if there is that cash there and the client passes away, it gets passed on to the beneficiaries.
Now, whatever's left over, or they get the actual death benefit? Because I was always under the assumption, like, let's say they have $200,000 and over a lifetime, they receive more than $200,000. There's nothing to hand over. But that's because I was always thinking of the annuitizing when you no longer own a policy. In this situation, it being a rider, so they get the payout, but it's also a death benefit, or let me say, or a surrender value.
Yeah. So literally in this right here, client puts 250 in. they've taken 350 out. When they pass away, if this is what was happening in their policy, right? That's the biggest thing. This is a historical. So they got in this product 10, 15 years ago, this would look like, right? They pulled out way more than 250. Their beneficiaries getting 880.
Oh, hot digging dawn. Oh, that, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
even know that factor right there. And we just closed one of these, and I'm like, you know what? I can't wait for it to issue to explain that part now.
Yeah.
Talk
Yeah.
about underselling and over delivering. Woo!
Yeah, and here's why. Let me show you a couple more things, right? I'll kind of dive into that just a little bit. So remember I was talking about par rate earlier? Okay. Now, mind you, this product is kind of built for income. But look at these par rates. 180, 290, 190, 245, 205, right? So the fact that the par rates are extremely attractive, even though we have the income rider on it, because if you look at the products across the board, right, the par rates get slashed. And basically, insurance companies are like, hey, we're going to limit the upside so we can feed the income. The fact that the par rates are so attractive on this product, when we have the income rider on it, that's what makes the difference. That's why it functions like this. And hence why it's the #1 selling guaranteed income rider for 7 years running. They own like 30% of the market for this one product, right? So yeah, that's why. It's because they do not handcuff the client whatsoever on the accumulation side, where most, if not all, other products do in some form. Okay. So yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely bonkers, right? But yeah, that's all she wrote. I mean, we got 30%, 9.5% roll up. I deferred 10 years. I didn't even defer 12 years. If we deferred 12 years, the income would go up even more. Right? So here, I'll show you something else. Oh, let's see. So I can give everybody access to this portal, by the way, that I'm about to show you. Watch this. So one of the questions you'll always get, it's like,
What's going on?
most of the time you're gonna get this question on an
Okay,
appointment,
so appreciate you.
right? So the question is, what if I don't want to wait 10 years, right, to trigger income? Well, I can show you real quick. Look at this. So if they wait 10 years, they get 38,000. Let's say they want to wait, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. Well, 26,000, 28,000, right? If they wait the full 12 years, they get 45,000. Because of that 9.5% guarantee roll up to the income base, we can tell you to the dollar, guaranteed, no questions asked, what their income will be if they defer that long, right? So these are guarantee numbers. They only can go up, right? So they're taking into account the 30%, 9.5% roll up, right? So if they wait the full 12 years, they'll get 45,882. No questions asked. Guaranteed, bet the whole farm on it. Put all your chips on black, right? Because we know the roll-up rate and we know the payout factors, right? So that's a very easy way and quick way to show, instead of running 10 illustrations and showing a 1-year deferral, a 2-year deferral, a 3-year deferral, a 4-year deferral, so on and so forth. With one page, I can show you what that number is after each year deferral. Pretty cool, right? So it makes that point of sale even that easier. So now you have one, maybe 2 illustrations, you defer it 10 years on the illustration, and he goes, well, what if I don't want to take it in 10 years? Perfect. You get 45 grand guaranteed at into 12. right? Or if you want to trigger before that, then you get 26,443, right? It just makes that point of sale that much easier when you can be nimble, right? You can be nimble and say, oh, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, whatever it might be. But also what that does for you, it makes you look like a rock star when you're doing income planning. So now you can really paint that picture and they know exactly what they're going to get from an income perspective at any given time. Pretty slick.
Yeah, and that's on their website because never seen
So
that.
that's on the Maya Nexus website. And now, if you don't have access to the Maya Nexus website, shoot me an email. I have to send that invite out manually, but I can get that invite so you can have access to this whole website.
All right,
It's
and if I
actually
could
got
share
some.
something, I would like to share a screen so I could read this right, if that's okay.
And Colton, you said that's my Nexus. Is that different from the HQ whatever? That's
Yes.
okay.
Yep. Two different portals. So Maya Nexus, we want to think of product and illustrations. The the HQ is, we want to think of HQ as business. That's where we're going to submit business.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is the table. This is the table I'm looking at. So
Yeah.
you're telling me this person at the age of 80 would have collected $262,000, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
At $32,000 a year.
Yep.
And if she dies that very
Mhm.
year, her family's death benefit is going to be $464,000.
Correct.
Or let's say she says at that age of 80, Elimnish, I hope you're listening. If she says at this point in time, she says, you know what, I don't want this policy anymore, they will cash her out at $424,000.
Yes.
Hot diggity dawn, I'm done. All right, guys,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. So now the
I'm
biggest
dropping.
thing about those numbers, right? Those numbers are not guaranteed. Those numbers are based on the growth of the indexes, right? They've added a couple new indexes. They've added the NASDAQ and the Loomis Discovery, two fantastic indexes. So if we get the growth that we're supposed to, right, plus the par rate, yes, that's what it potentially could look like. Yeah, when I sell that to a client, the way that I phrase it, right, is you put money in, you take a lot out, and you have a lot left over, right? So whether you do the most recent 10 years or you go down one page to the controlled, it doesn't matter, right? Where the numbers fall and how much above or below, that's the principle. Is you put money in, you pull a lot out, you have a lot left over, right? So that's where Nationwide is just it's one of the easiest things to sell, in my opinion, when we're looking at income.
It's preferable if it is six figures though, because if it's not, it doesn't really make too much sense when the person's making 1,000 a year.
Dude, it's funny you say that. I had a gal, she called me, and I think we were only rolling like $15,000, right? I think it was like, I don't even remember the number. It was like $175 a month. I don't even remember the number. But dude, that agent was tickled pink. I was like, all right, cool, I guess, and I'm not here to judge, but the client was on fixed income. So that $175 extra a month, literally gas in the tank, a couple extra groceries, right? So like if you have those clients, I wouldn't throw shade at all. Like obviously we would never, right? I'm not saying that, but
No,
I don't
but
want
there's
you to
other
not.
plans like Delaware Life. We have
Yeah.
other things that might look and illustrate a lot better.
Potentially, yeah. Nationwide's up there right now. They're at
Saying
the top of the
I don't
income charts.
want
Colton,
everybody
I
to
have a
think that
question for you.
Nationwide.
I'm sorry, Leo. Go ahead. I apologize. My internet, is crazy, so it's like lag. It's lag. I'm sorry.
Fine.
I don't even know if you could hear me. So I'm like, okay, I apologize. I couldn't hear you because it was lag, my internet. Colton, I just have a quick question for you. I have a client that is gonna get they did an illustration, Nash did one for me for Athene, and she was speaking to me about the 9.5% bonus for each year they don't take it. So is that 9.5% bonus is based off of what they initially put in there, or as it grow each year, they get the 9.5% bonus on whatever have accumulated?
Great question. So it's 9.5% compounded off of the premium amount. Okay. Now, let's say the indexes kill it and there's a 12% return 1 year. The client gets the higher of the two to the income bucket, right? So if those indexes perform, then you get a step up and it's locked in, right? Now, that 9.5% goes for 12 years. So what happens if someone triggers income in 5 years? That 9.5 stops. No more 9.5 if they trigger the income, right? So it's whatever's first, right? So then at the end of 5 years, if they triggered 5 years, then it reverts to the growth of the indexes, and we hope those indexes perform so they can get some additional step ups later on, right? Because if they perform, we can get some step ups later. But that's the way it functions. It's off a premium amount. However, if the indexes outperform, you get the higher of the two.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Colton, I know you promised me an hour, so I'm gonna ask you to just go over one more thing, and then I am gonna, have you commit to another time at some point. So
All right.
first I'll get the commitment. You're coming back, right?
Yeah, on time.
Look at that. I got that recorded, guys. Here's the second part. Now that you write a policy, right? We write a policy, submit it. Can you walk us through after submission? Oh, actually, you know what? Because I do know the answer to this part. I still want people to hear it from your mouth. Can you walk us through the part of, okay, I got the client. What now?
Yep.
Talk to me about the path, and then out. And then
Okay. So client says go. What happens next, right? So client says go. We log into Advisor HQ. Now, this is assuming you're contracted. This is assuming you have your AML, your E&O, all that, okay? You log into Advisor HQ, right? You're going to go into Firelight. You're going to pick the carrier and the product, and you're going to start the application, okay? Now, here's what I would recommend. Let's say you're filling out that application. You get to 99%. Before you send it for client signatures, send me a copy of the PDF. So at the top right, other actions, print to PDF. Okay, you send that to me. I will have your account manager review it. So your account manager, after they review it, they will send you an email back, bullet pointed on what needs to change. Check this box, uncheck that, right? Suitability, not going to pass, yada, yada, yada. You go into the application, you make those changes, you're good for signatures. Okay, so then you're gonna go to the bottom, email for signatures, client e-signs it via email, it's gonna be sent back to you. You apply your signature, and then at the bottom, it'll say submit to carrier or something like that, right? Okay, done. Boom, you have submitted the application, it's at the carrier. What happens next, right? So what happens next is they're gonna do a suitability review. Takes typically, depending on the carrier, 3 to 5 days. Okay, some can be shorter, some can be longer. In that process, if you screwed something up on the application or something doesn't seem right, the carrier will let Quantum know that there's something wonky. We need to get something updated, changed, signed, whatever. Okay. Now, you're going to be able to see that in Advisor HQ. That's going to be your dashboard, right? So you can track everything on there. At this time, you're going to work hand in hand with your account manager, whether it's Hannah, Chris, Chad, Lauren, so on and so forth, right? Now, 3 to 5 days passes, we get the stamp of approval. Suitability is approved. What happens after that? This is where it really depends. Let's say it's just a typical rollover, right? Through the application process, you probably got the accord form signed or the transfer paperwork signed. Right. At that time, my team is going to send that 1035 paperwork off to the relinquishing company. Right. To this point, it's hurry up and wait. Right. Now, it could be a client initiated rollover. It could be a wire. Whatever the situation is, right, doesn't matter. You're going to work with the account manager to start the rollover process, whether it's a form like Empower, for example, big 401k provider. They have their own transfer paperwork, right? So at that time, they're going to, yeah, I know it's a pain in the neck. It's not standard at all. It doesn't matter what it is. Your account manager is going to walk you through that. They'll be like, hey, they'll send you an email or no. Say, hey, suitability is approved, right? Get the Empower transfer paperwork signed so we can start the process. Yada, 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 right? At that point, it's the hurry up and wait situation I was talking about, right? So most other companies are pretty quick. I'd say within 7 to 10 days. Some are within 2 or 3 days. It doesn't really, whatever. Okay. Now, my team at that time is following up every couple of days. Did you receive the transfer paperwork, right? Are you processing it? What's the ETA? When are you sending it? Out of all this stuff. And you're going to get those updates in Advisor HQ, right? Now, let's say the money is sent, money hits the account, money hits the policy, right? Most of the carriers we work with pay commissions daily. So within 24 to 48 hours, you'll get an email saying, hey, your commission has been processed. All that means is it was sent to Experior, right? And Experior is going to pay you out according to their pay schedule. I think they pay twice a week, right? Okay. All that sounds like a bunch of jargon. Here's what you need to know, right? You submit 3 to 5 days for suitability, call it another 5 to 7 days, da da da. About on average, I see most cases go paid within 3 weeks or so, roughly. That's if you're on top of it. That's if you're getting everything back, da da da. Okay. Now, full disclosure, I have seen cases go paid in less than a week. I have seen cases that went paid in 6 months. Those are outliers. Okay. I know. Trust me. It all comes down to transfer paperwork wasn't signed out correctly, and then the other company lost the paper. Those are messes, right? We want to avoid those as much as possible, right? The typical case, 3 weeks, maybe 4, we're rocking and rolling. A really good case, 2 weeks. So anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks, we can get it in and paid most of the time, right? Yes, those ones that take longer, everyone's had it on the life insurance side. You got underwriting, you got this and medical, medical records. Oh, the medical record person comes in once a month and then they fax it. I don't know what a fax is anymore, right? We're going snail mail over here, right? So we all have them. There's no, always that on the annuity side too, but 3 to 4 weeks.
All right, that's good to know. At least everybody knows from a creation of or submission down to paper in your bank account, it is going to be 2 to 3 weeks. That's good to know. Should we do anything as agents, such as follow up with Hannah, or pretty much you guys on autopilot and we could trust that we don't have to do that?
Yeah, that's completely up to you. So here's the fun fact. Yeah, here's a fun fact, right? It's always good to stay on top of the business, right? We're all human, we miss things. But here's a fun fact. Everybody at Quantum is basically, it's a profit sharing company. So Milan and Izzy up front, myself, Hannah, Chris, all the account managers, we get paid on the growth of the firm, right? And why am I saying that? Because there's a sense of urgency, right? So literally the account manager's like, hey, I've got this big case. Like, we need this done. Why are we? They're pushing just as hard as we're pushing because we don't get paid until you get paid, right? So we're all fighting the same fight, right? We're all on the same team here. So if you want to follow up, feel free. That's what their job is. But we are trying to be on top of it as much as possible.
Okay. All right, guys. Final question. Anyone?
I have a question.
I know you got a question.
Yeah,
So, okay, so several of the people that I talk to about annuities, of course, what I know about it the most is the income portion.
Okay.
So if we're talking to someone, they may have an old 401k that's just sitting, maybe 50,000, and they want to move it into an annuity. Which carrier would you say would be the best carrier for income annuities?
So there's 2.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 2, Nationwide and Delaware.
Okay.
Yep. Accumulation. Three carriers typically, right? Athene, North American, and Security Benefit.
I
To
could tell you
keep
a quick
things
story
simple.
about North American. In less than a month, we got a client in our team that's made over $25,000 in one. Sorry, $23,000 in like a month span from the time they went in to what it's right now, and he's ecstatic. I mean, spreading the word to everyone like a
Love it.
wildfire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what about lifetime income options?
So
Yeah.
lifetime income, so nationwide and Delaware. Yeah, that's all the same. So
Okay.
everything I talk about when like income, it's all lifetime income.
Okay.
So I have a question. Oh,
Yep.
so I know you say accumulation and income. So if someone was starting an annuity at a much younger age, not near retirement, you would want to put them in kind of like an accumulation to kind of build up, their funds and stuff like that. And then after their period, whether it's like 5, 7, or 15 or whatever, then transfer them to an income because they have a much larger bucket to kind of
Yeah.
give them more.
1000%. Okay, let me break that down for you. Okay, let me break that down. So if we're looking at income, right, I wouldn't defer more than 10 years or maybe 12, much more than that. I wouldn't defer more than that, right? So for example, they need income at 70 and they're 50. Don't do it, right? That's too long. It's too much can happen. Okay. The way that you want to think about annuities is 10 years, and this is going to keep you safe. And there's a plethora of reasons why I'm going to say what I'm going to say. A lot of stuff behind the scenes, but to keep safe and keep all your clients happy, right? You want to look at annuities as 10-year blocks. Okay. So if it's outside of the 10 years, we want to go more than likely accumulation. So if someone's younger, say 40, 35, somewhere in that age, definitely 1000%, no question, we're going to go accumulation, right? The way you want to think about it is more money, more options. Okay. So let's say someone's 40, right? And they want to start taking income at 60. Okay. So we're going to go accumulation, 10 years. We're going to flip it to a new accumulation product, go another 10-year tranche. Okay. And then we're going to flip it and turn on income. Okay. Does a couple things. Number one, you are going to lay out a roadmap that's going to feel extremely custom to the client. You're going to look like a rock star. Number two, it's fantastic for you, the agent, right? Every time you roll a new one, you get paid on it, right? So you're building your book of business. But number three, you're keeping the client safe. It has to do with renewal rate integrity. It has to do with how insurance companies look at policies outside of the surrender schedule. There's a lot of reasons why we want to look at it like this. Okay. So yes, 10-year blocks. If you think of it like that, you will be safe 100% of the time, or a lot more safer. I guess nothing's 100%, but a lot more safer when we look at it like that. Okay. Yes, income. I like to defer. You could do immediate inside of 10 years. Love it. Right. Even nationwide, we have a 12-year roll up. But triggering income in 5 years, right? If they're 60, want income at 65, fantastic. Okay, so that's the way you want to think about it, is those 10-year blocks, and everything will be better. Because the problem is, I've had an agent, I'll show you the North American, right? It's fantastic, illustrates really well. Literally, the client was 55. The agent showed the number when the client was like 90 or 100. They've only put like 200 grand in, and it showed them at like $20 million or something crazy. I'm like, first off, we're not hedge fund people here, right? Or we're not, it doesn't work that way, right? It just doesn't. I promise you it doesn't. A lot of reasons why. But that scares me, right? Even when I'm talking to clients, when I'm talking about accumulation, I don't show them much past 10 or 15 years on the hypothetical pages, because I know it's not realistic, right? But yes, that's a great way to look at it. Hopefully that answers that question for you, but that's the way I would definitely kind of hold fast to.
Yeah, it makes sense. And then I have another question. I know you were
Yep.
talking about this single premium, single immediate
Yeah.
annuity, something like that. So
Mhm.
how does that work? Like, because like technically when you do a fixed income, it's like a single premium, right? Because it's a rollover. So
Correct.
that's single premium.
Yes.
So like, how do like I'm trying to figure out how to wear this.
Yeah, I think I know what you're asking. So a SPIA is what you're referring to. A single premium immediate annuity, that they're annuitizing it. Okay. That's a completely different product. Completely different. Right. So they are most of them single premium anymore. We do have some product that's ongoing premiums, which we can dive into. But if it's so a SPIA and a fixed index annuity is two different products completely. So it's really hard when you call in or you're talking to Quantum. Probably not going to show you a SPIA because you make like maybe a couple percent on it, right? Maybe a percent, something like that. But anyways, um, but the difference being is when you put that money in a SPIA, you ain't getting that sucker out. It's zeros. Once that income is started, you can't surrender it. You can't get the money. It's done. It's literally done.
And
With
that's
a
what you talk about with the annuitization where you activate that part versus like taking out a I
income
guess
rider.
turning on the income rider or whatever.
Correct. With a
Okay.
fixed index annuity, you have complete control. You can trigger the income at any time. You don't have to predetermine it. You can turn the income off. There's going to be some growth aspect you can access. Like it's all good, right? The SPIA, we use them in the planning process sometimes, right? But there's very little upside to writing a SPIA. It might only produce maybe a couple $100 more a year or something like that. But yeah, the fixed index annuity is just better for the client all around in my experience.
Okay.
Yeah, great question though.
You.
This was great, man. Anybody else? One last question. I mean, it's great. Thank you. Listen, you went on. You're over. We're gonna validate that
Yeah,
you were late. Okay.
I gotta pay my debts. Gotta pay my debts, my time
No,
debt
you're
over here.
dead. My mailbox is still waiting, but we'll talk about that offline. Anybody else? Don't think I forgot. Anybody else got any questions, comments, or concerns for this gentleman here?
I don't have any questions. I just want to say thank you, Colton, for coming on and
Yeah.
doing this training. Very informative. Um, and I think we needed this because we are starting to really generate a lot of annuities and doing business with higher clientele. So I just thank you so much for
Yeah.
everything that you gave us today. Very informative.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So what we'll do,
Question.
yeah.
On the next time that you're here, are you gonna go over like illustrations? I'm not sorry, not illustrations, applications.
Oh, hell no. Hell no. Nope.
Like, I like how
Absolutely
he
not.
did the whole, like he was gonna tell you, yeah, and he said, nope, you can read. He said,
No, no.
No,
So
No,
well,
he
it
said
was
hell
I have
no.
a couple, well, there were just a couple things that like the
it's
person that I was
confusing.
talking
Yeah.
with didn't know. And so we were like, try this number and see. And I think it's this number and see.
that's what Hannah
Absolutely.
gets paid for. That's her part of the. That's her part of
Yeah.
the profit
Yeah.
sharing.
So the here's the problem, right? Is number one, I'm one of those guys where I'm building the plane as it's falling half the time and I'll fix it on the back end, right? But number two, suitability it's a literal gray area. It's a literal moving target, right? Net worth, do we put the house in it, the mortgage, if they owe on it? I don't know where this goes, I don't know where that goes, right? Because that's not what I do all day, every day, right? That's the issue. And then not only that, every single carrier looks at it all differently, right? So it depends on what product we're writing, what the per client situation is, right? Like, for example, no more than 50% into an annuity from a net worth perspective. Well, that's a moving target, right? Some companies go up to 70%. Well, beats me. So as much as I would love to do that, actually I wouldn't love it at all. But I just don't think I could bring the value that you're looking for because I guarantee you I would prepare like crazy for it. And then you're going to ask me one question, and it's going to be the first question I'm not going to know the answer to. Yeah, that's how that's gonna go. I
Thank
already
you for
know.
your honesty, man.
I already know.
Thank you for your honesty.
But however, here's what we can do is I can try to, it would have to be during the day, but I can probably schedule a time with one of the account managers for you. I have to ask a favor. You know, they're not in sales, right? So they don't like doing it, but I think I can pull some strings and get a training for you done on that if you want.
Yeah,
No, we-
it's just like on the application or whatever, it was like liquid acids versus like non-liquid acids, and like what do you count it as non-liquid? And I'm like,
Okay.
so then it was like, well, the house is really liquid because it takes time to sell it. So like, do you count that as like a liquid versus like a non-liquid? And then the 401k, it was the same thing. Like you really can't access it. It's not like you can go to the bank.
Oh
and,
yeah.
let me get
Oh,
that.
it's not. Yeah, it's not liquid if you're under 59.5. It is liquid if you're over 59.5. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's all confusing to me. It beats me.
Oh,
I'm here to sell.
we'll definitely take that training. We definitely will. Definitely.
Okay. Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as you see, some people are already jumping to the other training, and some people have to go to class. So I want to personally thank you for joining us on Latte with Leo today. I really appreciate this. You made up for dodging me and running away from me in convention because your wife called. You made up for that. You made up for that. Almost. I'll check my mailbox maybe in a week. And later, and
I faxed it.
we got him for one more time. So I'll probably set something up for. Let me see. We're in June, so next month. Is that good for you? Like sometime next month, I'll call you offline. But next month is.
Yes. Yeah, we can.
let's
Yeah, we
see-
can
let's see
get
if
it
we
done.
get some. If we get some activity this month, so we have something to talk about, it makes it a little easier as well.
Perfect.
So,
Yeah.
guys, one thing I'm gonna tell you is when you put in, these guys don't only just send you illustrations. I mean, I've called Lou after he sent me the illustration, and he literally walked me through every product, every nook and cranny. Did not hang up until I was done, and then I would tell you to do the same. When I sat with him, I said, "Well, in this situation, I would pick this one." And if I'm wrong, he'll tell me why I should pick the other one. But if you're paying attention, you're usually gonna pick what's right for your client because you sat with them and you know exactly what they want. So don't be afraid of that part. I would just say that after you get your illustration, follow up, get on their calendar, run it real quick so you know what play you're running when you're sitting with the client. I do have one more question before we go. I'm not sure if that's Tavares or Jennifer, but you can mute and ask your
It's me, Leo. Thank you. Hey Colton, I just had one question for you.
Yeah.
And it was a situation that happened when I was doing it. My question is, like, when it comes to requesting the funds, is it better for is it better to do it with the client to request for the funds to make it move faster, or is it better for the carrier itself to ask for the funds?
Great question. I like doing it with the client on the phone, right? I like the client initiated better, right? Because it's their money, right? You get them on a three-way, say, hey, we want to start the transfer process. What do we need to do? Okay, I'm going to send it to you. Call them back. Yeah, if we can get that client involved, they seem to move quicker. Yeah, definitely. I'm a big advocate of that, having the client on the phone.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's been an honor, a pleasure, and a privilege, Colton. I know your daughter probably wants to be out there, and I know it's still sunny out there in Phoenix, and you probably got to go and play with the children. I'm just jealous you have a full head of hair. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great time. We will see Colton again. That picture that I put of you does no justice. I should take another one, but you don't want to. You like being bigger faced, whatever works for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.